Welcome back to another Runnin with the Rebel show, Rebel fans. I'm your host, Rafael Gonzalez, and today we're going to be going over the Week 1 preview, not Week 0, Week 1 against Sam Houston State University. So the format I'm going to break down a little differently today. I'm going to try to break down the show in segments. So I'll have a offensive segment for the Rebels, defense, special teams, possibly intangibles, and then I'm going to do the same for the Sam Houston State University Bobcats, whatever. No, it's the Bearcats, but it's going to be a little bit different. I want to break down the show in segments and then give you guys chapters underneath, so that way it's a little bit more free flowing. And if you guys want to skip ahead to see what I say about the defense or the offense or whatever the case may be, you guys can. But before we get into that, if you guys are enjoying the content, please hit a subscribe and a like on the video. It helps me out greatly for all the shows that I put out here. Without further ado, let's get into the Rebel offense. So getting into the Rebel offense, first things first is we don't have to change much from the initial Week 0 game that we played. I think the offense played fairly well. There's some minor changes that we have to fix, and I'm going to go over those here in a bit. But honestly, if we just keep to the game plan that we did in the first game in Week 0, like I said, if we don't miss the 13 points that we left on the field, we scored 51 points in Week 0 in the Week 0 game against Idaho State, and so I think if we keep that up and we maintain that kind of offensive production, 530 something yards, I believe it was 32 or something like that, we'd be fine. But I want to go over some points that might make the game better for us. And if we can execute on these things that I talk about, I think we absolutely blow out Sam Houston State. First things first, we have to protect the ball. Alex Orji had that big run in the first quarter of last week's game. He fumbled on the 1 yard line, and I think that kind of really killed a lot of momentum for us for the game there. If he scores that touchdown, I think we have a lot more momentum going into that first quarter. As you guys know, he fumbles on the 1. They get the ball back. They score a field goal, I believe, at first, and then they score a touchdown, and they end up going 10-0 in that first quarter, and it really kind of set us back, and we had to kind of like play chip away and get back into the game. And so protecting the ball is very important. Even in the fourth quarter when Alex Orji scored his touchdown, when I'm looking at the game back, I see that he's still kind of holding the ball a little bit loose. And if somebody kind of puts helmet to ball on that contact there's another chance that he might fumble the ball on the goal line there. And so he has to do a better job of keeping that ball close to his body, nice and tight. And for the most part, Calandria needs to do what he did in the first game. He needs to not kind of force throws and not make bad throws. He did well in the first week. He had only 1 touchdown, but no interceptions, and he really kind of protected the ball. And second thing is don't hold on to the ball for too long with the quarterbacks. Calandria a couple times held the ball too long, especially the one where we got into the red zone, and he kind of dipped back, shuffled his feet, and ended up getting like a 15 or 20-yard loss. And that kind of set up the missed field goal and where we left some points on the field. So getting the correct reads, getting the ball out quickly, and not holding the ball too long or taking off with the ball if he feels comfortable enough, I think are the two main things going into it. Second thing for our offense is I like playing the dual quarterbacks. I don't think it's going to be a detriment to us if we name somebody a starter and somebody a short yardage guy. Dan Mullen came out in the press conference again and said they both might play, and he kind of made it seem like there might be a series for series type thing still. I think that's going to be a detriment to us if that does happen. I think he needs to have somebody that is the long yardage guy, and then when you get into your third and short, second and shorts, you can put Orji in there to kind of mix it up and try to catch the defense off guard. Other than that, point number 3 is going to be Jet. Jet needs to get the ball more. Plain and simple, Jet needs to get the ball more, period. Jet needs to get the ball more. For him to only have 10 carries on 14.7 yards per carry is kind of criminal. He needs to be the workhorse back for us. I understand you don't want to overwork him. Mullen was talking about in his press conference, having a running back room has that kind of depth. It's good because you can keep guys fresh. But when you're not giving your workhorse the ball enough, it kind of sets you back on the offensive end, in my opinion. I think Jet needs to get about 15 to 20 carries a game. If he gets more, then so be it, but he shouldn't have anything less than 15 carries a game, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens when it comes down to that. The fourth point for the offense for me and the Rebels offense is going to be the wide receiver room. Bradley had a really good game, but everybody else kind of was non-existent. Not completely non-existent. There were some catches for a small amount of yardage, but I don't think the receivers got enough separation besides Bradley. And so for that, I say that we really need to focus on explosion out of the gate for the wide receivers to create that separation so Calandria can get a quick throw. I'll go into Sam Houston's defense a little bit more later on, but their secondary and their DBs seem to be their weak point on their defense. And so if we can get the quick balls out to the receivers when they're open, I think that might be good for us. And then, like I was saying earlier, last but not least on my points for the offense here is don't change the formula too much. As long as we execute at a high level, then we don't have to change too much that we did in the first game, and I think we'll be all right and score another 30 to 40 points plus this game. And one more thing before we get into the defense here is I know I said last but not least last time, but lastly here, better passing protection. I think the run blocking was fine, but we definitely need better passing protection, especially on the left side of the line. Will Thomas seemed to struggle on the left tackle. There was one point where he had given up back-to-back sacks. I believe it was in the third quarter or something like that. So we need to shore up the pass protection and the coverage that we have for the offensive line to give Calandria that time, or Orgy even, give them that time to make those throws if we're going to try to exploit the Sam Houston DBs. So let's get into the defense now. So for the defense, I can go on and on about how bad we played or whatever the case may be, but there is talent on the defensive side. I think it came down a lot to scheme, to be honest. Paul Gunther's got a lot of work to do, but I'll go over that at the end of this segment here. But what I just want to talk about what I saw that the players can do themselves to kind of shore up what happened defensively in that game for us. And first things first, we need better gap coverage on the defensive line. There was too many times that they ran an inside draw or an inside run just in general, and that run broke 15, 20, 25 yards, whatever the case may be. The gap coverage needs to be cleaned up defensively. However they do that, I don't know. I don't know if it's making the stints not so spread out or whatever the case may be. But too much spacing on the inside of the line there. And that kind of leads into my second point here, which is going to be the linebacker positioning. They got stuck on the line a lot of the times, and that's what left that big gap. So I don't know if Gunther needs to switch something up, if he needs to run a different kind of scheme, or if they just need to practice on the positioning and the gap coverage and lineup a little bit better this week, which hopefully they did. But that's definitely something that they do need to clean up, so that way we can stop the run and stop those gashing runs. We had way too many of them, and so hopefully that's something that they prepare themselves for this week so they can slow that down a bit. Thirdly, the DBs did do a good job of getting some interceptions, but I think a couple of them were just due to really bad quarterback play. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be completely honest. But we did get two other interceptions, so we had 4 in total. I want to see the DBs get more pass deflections, more PDs for the DBs, right? And Jake Pope had 10 tackles last week, 6 solo tackles. But like I said, no pass deflections. And so hopefully he shores up that coverage, because a lot of the times he did seem lost when it came to coverage. He was one of the few guys when the ball was caught, or if the running backs did make a big run, he was there a lot of the times. And so his swarming and getting to the ball and making that tackle is good. He needs to shore up that coverage a little bit. I don't want to pick just on him specifically, because there was definitely more people where there's just blown coverage, or we just weren't close enough on coverage. I don't think Gunther's 10 yards back playing is going to help us. I think you trust some of your outside guys to press up a little bit and make it a little bit more difficult of a throw for these quarterbacks to make. Another thing, Hunter Watson is a running quarterback as well. So it plays into that gap coverage and that linebacker positioning, like I said, but we are going to have to do a much better job of that, because if it's a pass play and we get caught up in that stuff, Hunter Watson's going to break a big run on us. And so hopefully there's better coverage in the DB area. The linebackers positioning is better, and the gap coverage is good on line. And last but not least, like I said, I'm going to keep it short and sweet for the defense, because there's a whole laundry list of things that we can go over. But Paul needs to switch up some kind of scheme, in my opinion. Playing 10 yards deep off the line in a cover one, cover two scenario sometimes, it was just way too much space for the receivers to work and do their thing, especially for an FCS team to do that to us. I think some kind of scheme change probably needs to be made on that defensive backside just to give our talented guys, because there's a lot of talented guys on the defense, just to give them a better opportunity to have better coverage on the ball. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, we did get 4 interceptions. That's an easy way for victory if we get another 4 turnovers this week. But it's hard to get a lot of turnovers, especially when you play guys who are sound and intelligent and make the correct plays. And so I really think it all really boils down to Gunther switching up the scheme a little bit. He doesn't have to like completely overhaul it or whatever. Make tweaks here and there that benefit us and benefit the talent that we have on the field at that moment in time. And so, yeah, let's get into the special teams. Getting into the special teams, first thing I will say is there needs to be better decision making on the kick returns, punt returns. I believe it was Glover. He had a couple kick returns. One of them he took was like 3 or 4 yards deep and didn't get anywhere near the 25-yard line. So it's just assessing the kick and assessing your blocking scheme in front of you, because you should always at least strive to get back to the 25-yard line, because if you just take a knee in the end zone, you get the ball at the 25, right? And so just a little bit better decision making on kick/punt returns. And then with punting, Cameron Brown did an okay job. He did an all right job for his first game as a punter. Wish he had a little bit more yardage on his punts. He averaged 44.3 yards. Not terrible at all, but not great either. I think it's kind of average on the yardage. I could be wrong there. I'm not a special teams punter connoisseur, so but I think he could have got a little bit more hang time on those punts. If he does that, he gets a little bit more yardage, and there's not much return space for the other team as well. They only did have 1 punt return for 7 yards, so he did a fairly good job of that, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. But the big thing about kicking, I think that everybody's going to agree and waiting for me to talk about here, is Ramon needs to hit his easy ones. He needs to hit the easy kicks. I don't think any kick that he had in this last game was very difficult at all, in my opinion. It's something that a kicker that is on scholarship probably should hit. And going 1 for 3 in a game is not only bad, but it's going to lose you your job more than not. I don't think he should lose his job after 1 game, but if he even misses 1 this next game, especially if there's like these easy kicks like he had in the first game, I definitely think you make a competition out of it and see what can be done, because that's 6 points that he left on the board on the board, or I shouldn't say on the board, but on the field for us, that we could have used in that game to give us a little bit more space and a little bit more breathing room. And so, yeah, we're going to go into, now that we've done and covered the Rebels side of the ball, we're going to go into Sam Houston State side of the ball. I'll try to keep it quick and simple, but I just want to go over kind of their pros and cons for offense, defense, and special teams as well. And then, yeah, so here is Sam Houston State's offense. So for Sam Houston State's offense, I will say that it looks like that all roads run through Hunter Watson. He's a dual threat quarterback. He can pass the ball fairly well for a quarterback, right? And he's got good legs for him as well. It's something that we're going to need to contain defensively if we want to have a chance, and shore up like I was saying on our side of the ball, the gap coverage for the defense and stuff like that. We need to shore that up. It does seem like all roads run through Hunter Watson, like I said. But they also have a Alton McCaskill who seemed like a capable runner. He seemed big. He seemed strong. He can hit the holes when he wants. He didn't really have much runs besides the one big run that he went for 55 yards. Hunter Watson had one big run, for 52 yards. Hunter Watson is the one that had the 55-yard run. But besides his 52-yard run, he had 10 carries for 20 yards. So we need to try to contain him from making those big plays. And if we can, I think we'll have a solid chance to try to stop them. When I was watching the game, none of the receivers really overly impressed me. Elijah Green did have 7 receptions for 61 yards, but every other receiver had 4 or less receptions. And Grady O'Neal was the only one else that hit over 50 yards. He went 3 receptions for 50 yards. So it seems that their passing game is not their strong point, and it looks like they're more of a run team that has the quarterback run on a dual threat kind of option. And so we need to try to make sure that we contain that option for them. And I think we should be all right. And so we'll get into Sam Houston State's defense. So with Sam Houston State's defense, I think their weak point when I was watching the game seems to be their DBs. Over and over again, the pass went out, and they were just out of position or just couldn't keep up with coverage. And deep play after big play went out for Western Kentucky. But Western Kentucky, excuse me, looks like they have a decent quarterback. He's a transfer from Abilene Christian. He transferred up to Western Kentucky. He followed his coach, I believe it was, but he threw the ball 50 times, and so there was a lot of throws, and that could be a reason why it looked like there were so many deep plays or big plays for Western Kentucky's offense. But it does seem to be Sam Houston's weak point. So I think that we should try to attack that, get Calandria or Orgy some easy throws, maybe go deep a few times down the field in the game just to kind of test those DBs and see if they're on their mark. And it did seem to be their weak point, like I said. They did get 2 sacks in the game, but again, there was 50 passes made. So 2 sacks isn't terrible, it isn't great either, but it seems they can apply somewhat a little bit of pressure. So we got to make sure that the pass protection, like I was talking about in our earlier segments, is good and solid. They did have a defensive return for a touchdown. It was a fumble on the right side of the field, if I remember correctly. It was like some kind of screen pass or a quick pass to the right-hand side. Either wide receiver or the running back from Western Kentucky got smacked. The ball popped loose, and they were attentive enough to grab the ball, pick it up, and run it all the way back. But that means that their offense only scored 17 points. I know we're talking about their defense, but so their defense had to pick up their scoring for them and get 7 points. And so I think it's something that we can exploit as the Rebel offense and move the ball around through the air, whether it be quick passes to the outside, like I said, a couple deep shots downfield. But it does seem to me that their weak point on their defensive side seems to be their DBs. And so we'll see what happens. And now we'll talk about their special teams. For Sam Houston State special teams, I don't know much about them. I do know their kicker went 1 for 2. He had a long, a 40-yard field goal, and he went 3 for 3. So he can miss. So if they do get into field goal range, hopefully we keep them at long distances to make the field goals difficult for them. And it looks like their punter his average is just over 42 yards a punt. So it's not the greatest. If we can put some pressure on him, he might shank some punts and give us some good field position too. So it's something that we got to look out for. I didn't see a ton of pressure on us when we did some punt block things in the first game, punt block formations in the first game. So we'll see how it goes. And like I said, their kicker, RJ Lopez, is 1 for 2 on the year, so he has missed one. So if we could put some pressure on him as well, put him in long, hard field goal situations and maybe bring the house, he might miss another one as well. When it comes to their kickoff returns, it doesn't look like they took any back on the kickoff returns. They had 2 punt returns for 19 yards, about 10 yards average, which isn't bad for punt returns. So that's something that we got to look out for on punt coverage. But other than that, that's their special teams. And we're going to get ahead and finish this video off with intangibles and predictions. So with intangibles and predictions, I'll start with Sam Houston State first. Obviously, they're at home. They're going to be at home. It's not necessarily a true home game, though. They are playing at Energy Shell Stadium, which is the MLS stadium that I believe is in Houston. And so it's slightly bigger than the capacity that they have at their home stadium. I think their home stadium is like under 20,000. I'm not too sure, but I believe it's like something like that. But Energy Shell max capacity is only 22 and change. And so I thought that would take away from their home field advantage a little bit because I thought they were going to be playing in a lot bigger stadium, like a 30 or 40,000 seat stadium. But when I looked it up, I noticed that it's only like capacity is like 22.1 and change or something like that. So they still could have the home field advantage if they pack that stadium up. It's going to be inside Houston instead of at their home stadium, but they still have that intangible rolling for them. With UNLV, it's all about focus, football IQ, right? Being in the right positions. I think this is a very winnable game for us. Talent-wise, we have way more talent than them. and we should be able to pull this off. Speaking of pulling it off, my final prediction for the game here is that we win by 10 points. The line has just dropped to under 9.5. So if you feel as comfortable as I do, maybe take that 9.5 point spread. But I feel like it's going to be like a 31-21, 38-28 type game. Might be a little bit closer, a little bit more, just depending on how we do defensively. I think it really comes down to our defensive side of the ball. If we make the big mistakes and the big gash plays up the run up the middle, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be one of those grinded out fests, just like it was in week 1. If our defense can shore up a lot, be a bend but don't break type of defense, and hold them accountable, I see us winning by 10, maybe even more, depending on how it is. When I watched that first game that Sam Houston State played against Western Kentucky, like I said, Western Kentucky was able to throw the ball all over the place. Their secondary didn't look good, and I think we have a real good chance with how good our offense is to really make some things happen. And so my final prediction here is going to be UNLV 38, Sam Houston 28. And that's just because I don't have faith in the defense to make it like a 21 type score for them. I think they'll put 28. They put 24 in the first game. They'll probably put 28 in the second game. If we can do the same thing that we kind of did in week 0, I think we'll be just fine, and we'll win by 10. Other than that, we're out of here. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys like the new format that I did. You want to get in here? You want to get in here? All right. And my son wants to get in here. And as always, yo, Rebel fans, I should say, UNLV, go fight, win. Until next time, y'all. Peace out.